Why do you think that? I'll go with Riley was out-recruited by Texas most years and a bad developer of talent. OU going to get a 5-star 2024 defensive line commit. I assume that's what that is in the next 2 weeks. Last name Stone.
Yeah, David Stone is a
Okay.
guy that has moved on from. I think he's enrolled in IMG Academy this year, and I think he's a guy that Oklahoma's been in on for a while. But I think overall, Mark, it's interesting. You know, a lot of comments here, you know, kind of related to Venable's ability to Venable's ability to recruit versus Riley's ability to recruit, what type of guys that Oklahoma will have, and what type of you know, what type of development, what's some of the issues that they've had over the last few years with Riley. And I think that there's a couple of things to unpack here. I think um, I think the idea that comes out that Oklahoma won't be able to recruit at a high level under Venables is I, I don't see it happening just based on the number of dynamic recruiters that Oklahoma has on this program in this program now. Not to mention what Oklahoma has had historically on the offensive side of the ball. Kel Gundy's a really good recruiter. DeMarco Murray has proven to be a really good recruiter early on in his time at Oklahoma, Beatonbow, and just on down the line. And then when you look at what some of these guys on the defensive side of the ball, not to mention Venables, but when you look at you know, Jay Valai, when you look at you know, Todd Bates, when you look at some of these guys that have even some of these guys, Mark, that haven't had a much of an opportunity, like a Miguel Chavis has done just a tremendous job early on. And I think, you know, we'll see how that continues to go throughout this year and the next couple of years and things like that. But when you look at the tremendous job that Oklahoma was able to do just in a short period of time where they needed to kind of try to put this class together, I think that's, you know, maybe a certain blueprint that shows how well and how dynamic this staff can be from a recruiting perspective. So yeah, it remains to be seen as we go through the through the rest of this 2022 cycle, 23 cycle, I should say, and then beyond. But and then when you look at some of the things that Riley and company were able to do, you know, think of it from an offensive side of the ball, and then we'll kind of move back to on the defensive side. Yes, Riley was an absolute dynamic recruiter, and still will continue to be. He was a good recruiter, really good recruiter at Oklahoma. He'll only get better at USC. Whether Oklahoma fans, you know, want to admit that or not, he certainly will continue to be that good. It's much easier to recruit to USC than it is to Oklahoma. So I think he will continue to be dynamic in that perspective. I think the thing that some people have put together here and thing that, you know, has a little bit of value is the player development on the offensive side of the ball. I think there has been concerns about that, with the fact that, you know, some of these quarterbacks that Oklahoma has had, they came in through the transfer portal, so it wasn't a situation where Riley continued to develop them. And the one that he's had that came in as a freshman was Spencer Rattler, and you see he took a little bit of a step back this year compared to where he was, and a lot of people think he was. So I think that, Mark, that remains to be seen a little bit as he moves to USC. A guy like Caleb Williams, how much better does he get after his outstanding freshman year? And then, you know, I think the defensive side, Mark, it's hard to compare the two when you look at Alex Grinch versus when you look at Brent Venables, just from the fact that their schemes are so much different. The players that Grinch is looking at is not the same players that Oklahoma is looking at for Brent Venables and his scheme. So again, I think, you know, the success that staff has had over over their careers at different schools is leads me to believe that they're still going to be really, really good recruiters. And then, as we mentioned last week when we talked a little bit more about the SEC and things like that, is once they have that SEC patch, it's going to be much different and probably a better way for Oklahoma from a recruiting perspective.